Hi again, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Loose Wheels, the auto racing podcast of CentralMaine.com. I'm Travis Barrett. I am the auto racing writer at the Kennebec Journal and the Morning Sentinel. Thanks again for coming along. We've got Dave Farrington Jr., who's done a little bit of everything over the years in terms of his racing career. We're gonna talk to him about a couple of different things. He won again at Wiscasset Speedway over the weekend. It was his second win of the season at the track he likes to call home, believe it or not, kind of where he got started. Even though he's over from the western part of the area, he kind of got his full body stock car start at Wiscasset Speedway, and it's a place he's very fond of. He also won there on opening day, back in the spring. So we're going to catch up with him. We're also going to kind of do a two-part thing with him. We're also going to talk to him a little bit about a program that he was involved with, the Kawicki Driver Development Program, which is run by the folks that were associated with Alan Kawicki, the former NASCAR champion, whose life was cut tragically short. He was really kind of a pioneer. Well, I shouldn't say he was a pioneer, but he was one of the last true owner drivers to really find success at the upper levels of the sport. And Dave kind of went through their program a few years ago, and he's going to talk a little bit about that. But speaking of winners over the weekend, holy cow. So Dave, as we said, won the Pro Stock feature / Super Late Model feature over at Wiscasset Speedway. Oxford Plains Speedway had a first-time winner in Calvin Rose Jr. in their Super Late Model division. The Pro All-Star Series was up at Speedway 95 in Herman on Sunday on Father's Day, and DJ Shaw unofficially took over the points lead as he won that 150-lap race. Travis Benjamin looks like he's still second. Each of those drivers has a win already this season through 8 races, so they're shaping up to kind of really duke it out throughout these summer months. And also on the American Canadian Tour, defending champion Scott Paye held off Eddie McDonald, as those two are again kind of headed towards another championship battle this year. So we're kind of at that point in the summer where championship standings are really starting to, you can kind of see them, like you starting to take shape. The results feel a little less random, once you kind of get into the meat of the summer. And so that's kind of where we're at. It was busy. Pro All-Star Series, I just want to mention quickly, their next race is July 1st, and that's the Open 100, they call it, over at Oxford Plains Speedway. It's for any driver who has not won a past race in the last 5 years. The winner is guaranteed a provisional into the Oxford 250 at the end of August. And also the podium finishers, second, third place finishers are also guaranteed provisionals, but it's a little bit tricky. They're guaranteed like half start money, quarter start money. Really, the big one there is who wins that race. And we've seen some really neat performances over the last few years that have kind of, in that race in particular, that have led to some Oxford 250 success. The most recent example would be Wayne Hellewell Jr., who, when he won the Oxford 250 in 2016, Wayne had finished on the podium in the Open 100. He was kind of coming back from illness. But anyway, let's get into this week's podcast. Nobody wants to hear from me. Let's catch up with Dave Farrington Jr. and talk about his win at Wiscasset Speedway this weekend and what he loves about the place. Dave, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Travis, thank you for having me.
You bet. Hey, so we're only a handful of races into the season, as hard as that is to believe, over at Wiscasset Speedway, and already you've won twice. So that's gotta feel pretty good for you here to as we kind of wrap up the month of June.
Yeah, it's always a lot of fun racing at Wiscasset Speedway. Richard Jordan. Turned that place around over the last several years since taking ownership of it, and that's what it's all about, having fun there. And we've been very competitive every time we've been there with post stock. Obviously we won opening day back in April. Had a little scuff up there in May. We got involved in an early incident, and then eventually bent the whole left front suspension and had a left front tire that was doing a lot more work than it should have, and we still managed to finish fourth there. But yeah, we came in Saturday night and again followed the whole sequence of the tires, the starting position of where we were going to be. Dad and I spent some additional time in the shop that we hadn't planned on in the first place, just because something wasn't perfectly right on the setup, and we weren't going to just call it good enough and load the car. We just wanted to take the time to make sure we got everything exactly the way we wanted it. And I said Saturday night that we essentially won this race from the race shop, and all the preparation time. But I mean, the car was a rocket ship all night. We just really adjusted on a couple things here and there. We knew the sun was going down; it was getting colder, so the track changed. Certainly a good amount from the heat of the day when it was about 80 degrees to the time we ran the feature, and we just communicated really well and made all the right adjustments and came out on top again.
What is it about Wiscasset? I know you and I had talked about it after you won there on opening day, but what is it about Wiscasset that means so much to you and your dad and racing there?
Yeah, I mean, Wiscasset was where we, grit our teeth the first time around running a Super Late model. Obviously, the story with me goes all the way back to 1999 when we started running go-karts at Sebastopol, which was formerly called Thunder and Valley Raceway, and spent 9 years in the karting world. Traveled all over the East Coast, running the World Karting Association, running against guys like Trevor Bain, Jake Crum, a bunch of names that we see on TV nowadays. And then, like I said, 2008 is when we kicked off our post-start tour at Wiscasset, and really struggled first years or two. Doug White was the owner there back then, and that first year was a year where there were 28 postdocs on a weekly basis, and the pay was good, but the competition was even tougher. And we certainly got our noses rubbed in it the first year. Didn't know exactly what we were getting ourselves into. There were several people questioning our decision to go from go-karts right into a Super Late model. Typically there's a transition step in between, with maybe a legend car or entry-level type division at the racetrack. But we made a decision, and we ended up with some older equipment that we probably could have done a little bit better if we had some newer stuff. And then we kind of just played what we had for the 3 years or so until we finally bought a brand new distance car in 2011. And of course, we're in the American Canadian Tour full-time then. Did a lot of traveling, between Quebec and the United States side, from Maine to Vermont to New York as well. And, really started to settle down by 2012, 2013. We purchased another brand new Super Late model from Jeff Taylor. Built the same way as the ACT car, though, so we could have some flexibility to be able to work back and forth with each car, and really settled in and started picking up some victories there in 2013 between Waterford Speedway in Connecticut. My mother and father were working down there on a job in Connecticut, so we raced 9 times there at Waterford Speedway against Keith Rocco, and we were able to knock him off one night. But he's pretty tough down there. He's one racer that's really hard to get against, and to be able to beat him at least one time was good. But 2013, the rest of the year, we had that infamous race at Wiscasset Speedway for the Oktoberfest, the heat race on Saturday. On the outside, started raining, and track officials let the race go, and we ended up in the turn 2 wall. And we totally had to rebuild the car Saturday into Saturday night, and really didn't have any expectations as to what was going to happen. Just at least take the green flag and get a paycheck, and we got it all back together, and we ended up getting the car right on, because we came from last to first in 50 laps, and so that was definitely the highlight of our year there in 2013, I would say. And then the Beach Ridge year, 2014, won the championship out of nowhere, I guess I'd say, because this was our first full year attempting to run at Beach Ridge. We'd run there with their 100-lapper, Pro Series 100-lapper that is now 125. But just consistency paid off that year, because, we ended up winning the championship by like 69 points, which is more than the maximum you can get in one night.
Yeah.
And we never won a race that year. We just stayed inside the top 5 from basically July 9th through the end of August. Every week we were just looking off top fives, and that's what really made the difference. So, as you can see, really Wiscasset was our starting ground. That kind of propelled our racing career, and it's been a lot of fun coming back there over the last 3 years. Again, like with Richard and Vanessa taking over, they're doing the right things. They're having fun, and we always enjoy coming there, and to be able to clip off a couple of wins here and there just makes it that more enjoyable too.
Would you, I think one of the things that surprises me most is that for as long as you've been at it now, and for as many different, series and tracks that you've run at, does it surprise you at all that, it certainly surprises me that you never won an ACT race and you haven't won a past race in the North yet. And to me, that's amazing. Like, I feel like there's so many races I've been to where I think, boy, Dave is right there tonight. Like, this is going to be his night.
Yeah, we certainly had a lot of could have, would have, should have, and a lot of close calls, a lot of races, both on the American Canadian Tour and the Pro All-Star Series that we've led a good chunk of the race and didn't come out on top. One that sticks out to me is the 2012 American Canadian Tour race at Beech Ridge. We started on the pole. We led the first 112 laps, kind of stuck up the show.
Yeah.
And then essentially lost the lead there to Joey Poe and Eddie McDonald, and then got spun around as well, and just lost the handle. And then come to find out after the race, we checked the car over, and we had a right front tire that had a puncture in it, so we were losing the right front tire going flat.
Yeah.
So that one certainly sticks out to us. And then there's been a couple of years where the October finale with the All-Star Series at Oxford has come around, and we've led that race 2 years for at least a third of the race. And then I think it was 2014, the year we won the Beech Ridge Championship. We just burned the right rear tire off and only had the short setup figured out, but we couldn't make it last. And then last year really sticks out too, because this is a race where we started inside the top five and just worked the outside, got to the lead around Bend Row, and then essentially the left front suspension came apart again, and the car just spawned up from there. We never got it fixed, and we were able to get it turned back around.
Yeah.
So we've definitely been competitive. We've been almost there. It's been tough for us to try to run those type of fun events because it really requires the personnel, the people, the skills, and knowledge, and really guys there during the week working on the car.
Yeah.
And that's just stuff that we don't have. We're able to go to these weekly shows like at Beech Ridge and Wiscasset with really just my mother, my father, myself, and maybe my girlfriend and one or two other guys that really just during the weekend, and they don't know enough about the car during the week to really be able to react quickly at the racetrack to make some adjustments like you see some of these other top teams that do compete on the touring series.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, though. At this point, it's kind of become clear here the last few years that as you bounce around a little bit, why does that? Is it just a matter of personnel, or is it what you like to do in terms of going to different tracks and trying some different races with some different series? Or would you, if you had a full-blown team, for lack of a better description, would you see yourself chasing points or running a full tour or somewhere? Or do you kind of like the experience of doing a bunch of different things every summer?
Yeah, it's really always been our mentality is to try to bounce around as much as we can, try not to get too locked down just to one series or one track. Our mentality's been that way since 2014. When we went into Beech Ridge that year, we just going to really take it one race at a time.
Yeah.
As far as chasing points was concerned, and by the end of June, we realized that we're in this now, and we can't really give it up by any means.
It's just that's just what you didn't want to have happen. We didn't want to get locked in anywhere.
Yeah, we always say that. We try not to give away all the secrets as far as, I guess, where we're going to be. I guess that was always a go-kart thing, is to keep people guessing where we're going to race next. But, times have changed where we have fans, we have sponsors. They want to know, and they need to plan things out in advance too on where we're going to be racing next. So we've kind of gotten away from that secrecy, I guess, of where we're going to race next. I'm trying to at least provide forward look ahead for our fans and our sponsors, so they know where we're racing next, so they can be there and attend and support us and support the track and the series. But really, as I look at this year, we've been able to run Wiscasset just because of Beechridge's schedule. They've adapted a schedule now where we get the third Saturday off every month. And, some teams probably enjoy the weekend off. For me, being the competitor I am, I find somewhere else to go.
Yep.
And, it's affordable, it's fun, it's convenient to run at Wiscasset. And, I wish I could do it more because we enjoy going there so much and seem to be successful at doing it.
Let me ask you, how much work is required in terms of changing the cars over from Beechridge to Wiscasset and vice versa? Is it because the tracks are not very much alike, are they?
Yeah, Beechridge came out with a couple of little changes for 2018 concerning rear ends, parallel arms, that sort of thing. So there's a couple of components back there that we do change over. I guess I kind of just gave away some secrets, but I guess it's not a secret to everybody because they made the rule change.
Whoops. Yeah.
But the weight, yeah, that's all right. I think everybody's learned by now anyway. I was asked this question last weekend actually at Wiscasset, but it actually probably takes 6 to 8 hours to change over from Beechridge to Wiscasset. The weights are the same as far as left side percentage, total weight, and everything like that. But there certainly are a few setup things. The tracks are obviously pretty similar in size. Wiscasset's got a little bit more banked in on most areas of the track. So I'd say between 6 to 8 hours just changing over, and then between their routine maintenance that we perform every week, just clean up the car from all the dirt, rubber, that kind of thing. Not bolting everything. You don't want anything falling off. So just being able to find the time to do that is certainly essential. So 6 to 8 hours to change over and adapt to the rule changes, and then probably an additional 12 hours just to do everything else in between that's required to get there and be competitive and have a chance to win.
Seems like a good place to take a break. A lot of information there from Dave. He's really he's very articulate. He's very well spoken. He always has plenty to say about a lot of different things. And I think I kind of want to take a break there with him because the second half of my conversation with him kind of goes into, like we were talking about earlier, some of the Kowicki driver development stuff and how he looks at racing and some of the things that as he's gotten a little bit older have his eyes have been open to in terms of how to succeed in this sport. And it's not just results, not just on the racetrack. But speaking of kind of a big picture look, TV's press box this week, one of the things that really gets me every time I see it, and I'm guilty a little bit of when I find it, I almost can't turn away, but it's some of the keyboard warriors that are out there that really... everybody wants to get so focused on what happened to them on a Saturday night or a Friday night or a Sunday afternoon at the racetrack, to their car, to their team. And more often than not, it just turns into these Facebook arguments that go on and on, pages and pages and pages, these threads, and on Twitter. And you're not doing a service to anybody by engaging in that stuff, guys. You're not doing a service to yourself. You're not, somehow, you're not going to turn the internet around and see your side of how you ended up in the middle of a 3-car pileup on the backstretch, at Beechridge Speedway, or how you didn't win because the tech guys at Oxford Plains Speedway made sure you didn't, or, I'm just throwing tracks out here. I'm not picking on any specific incident, but if you continue to do it, you're killing the sport. And it's something that everybody at some point in the year sits around and talks about and says, how can we get more people to come out to the racetrack? And what can we do to get more people in the seats? Which I am, if I'm a dad with a couple of kids and I want to take my wife out for something different on a Saturday night, and we've heard about auto racing, and we've heard the Loose Wheels podcast, and we think we want to go check it out, And my wife does a little research, and she gets on Facebook, and she goes and finds the track, and she finds mentions of the track. And the first thing she stumbles on is F-bombs and expletive-laced name-calling and, argument upon argument upon argument, and just the worst kind of internet rage you can find. Guess where we're not going that weekend? We're not going to your racetrack. We're not coming to your racetrack to buy tickets. We're not coming to become new fans of yours. We're not coming to buy cheeseburgers and French fries. None of it. We're going to go do something different. And that's what's killing the sport. It's unbelievable. And another side of that conversation is this idea that, why can't I get sponsors? Why can't I get sponsors? Why don't you come help me out? Why don't you get on my race car? Why don't you get on the side of my race car? Oh, man, love to have you on my race car. Love to have you on my hood. But if that's the way you present yourself in public, and yes, the internet is there, right? It doesn't go away. You can't erase it. People see it. People take screenshots of it. People share it. Once your name's attached to that stuff, no company that has that kind of money to spend on sponsorship is going to get involved with you. It's that simple. Be professional about it. There's ways to handle it. In the old days, guys went and talked about it. And they might have pushed and shoved behind closed doors. And they might have, done some things they wish they hadn't done as they got older. But the bottom line is it wasn't there for the entire public to see. And we're not talking about feuds and rivalries. We're talking about really treating people just as nasty and as ugly a manner as you can imagine. And it's awful. And I saw Nick Hinckley, who races pro stocks over at Wiscasset, I saw his team page get hijacked by other people in a really, really one of the most disgusting displays I'd seen in a long time. So please, for the sake of the sport, clean it up. Clean it up. I want an excuse to go cover this stuff. There are people out there that want an excuse to get involved with this stuff at whatever level, and you're not helping that. You're doing nothing but discouraging it. So just think before you type. Good Lord. Maybe send it to somebody to proofread. Find a friend you trust to tell you no. Because there is a guy that we're talking to this week, and Dave Farrington Jr., who absolutely kind of gets the big picture. And he's going to talk about some stuff he's done that has nothing to do with the race car or the race team itself, but has opened his eyes and opened up a network to other people that might want to be involved with him, and it's working out for him right now. Before we get back to the second half of our conversation with Dave, I have to do my shameless plugs. CentralMaine.com/sports. You can find all of our auto racing coverage all summer. You can follow me on Twitter at TBarrettGWC. You can also follow Dave Farrington at DFarringtonJr23. And I know he'd love to have some follows. And also at Central ME Sports. Again, keep up with everything that's going on in Central Maine, including auto racing this summer. All right, those are my shameless plugs. Subscribe to Loose Wheels on iTunes. It's there. Search for Central Maine Sports Podcasts, and you'll find it. All right, enough. I feel like I need to take a deep breath. So, without any further ado, here's the second half of our conversation with Dave Farrington Jr. You mentioned earlier about kind of a change in philosophy in terms of letting people know ahead of time, thinking about where you're going to be and what races you're going to tackle. I'm curious, did your experience with the Kawicki driver development program kind of help shape that new attitude for you, or am I kind of reading in the tea leaves? Because I remember, with that program, so much of it was about social media engagement of your fans and your sponsors and promoting yourself. I wonder if that's when you started to kind of look at things differently in terms of where you wanted to race and how you wanted to promote that.
They definitely, the Quickie Driver Development Program definitely changed who I am for the better, as far as just being overall better communicator, better involved with the community and the fans and everybody. I didn't even have a Twitter account until I got into the program back in 2015, and Twitter hasn't quite taken off yet. I think I'm just about up to 400 followers. So for those on Twitter looking to follow me at Farrington Jr. 23, give me a follow on there. I appreciate it. The Facebook definitely has taken off, though. I believe I'm up over 1,200 followers on Facebook. So the program just helped me introduce to a world outside of racing that I'd never seen before, as far as the community involvement, and really had a lot of fun doing what I did as part of that program too. You know, a lot of things I did with programs such as the Barbara Bush Children's Hospital there in Portland. I got to go visit the kids there a couple of times, and just get to talk racing with them. Brought them some autograph cards, some race cards of the late Alan Flicky, and really just share stories with them, see them smile and whatnot. That really meant a lot to me. And also did some things with the Habitat for Humanity in Brunswick, Maine, on a couple of off weekends. Before race season started, I got to go to a house there in Brunswick, just help build a home for those in need of a home, and got to see the people who were going to take over this home and live there, and see that meaningful value to them and their appreciation for what I was able to just help do for them on a couple of Saturdays during the month. I adapted my own scholarship program that Wyatt Alexander won the inaugural one. Essentially, I'm going to do it again this year. So, again, like I mentioned on Twitter, on Facebook, you'll see an announcement coming out here in a couple of months for it's mainly for either high school seniors or first, second year college students currently that are pursuing a career in engineering with interest or background in the racing community. I put that up, $500 scholarship for those, and received pretty good amount of applications the first time around, and certainly intend on doing that this year and hopefully for years to follow too. So again, those out there in need of a scholarship, I know I went to school for 7 years. Every scholarship definitely helps.
Yeah.
So I'll be putting that together as well. And a couple other things too that I was involved with before the program even kicked off. The Quickie program, that is, was involved with the American Cancer Society Relay for Life program held at the Franklin County. We held it at the Franklin Fairgrounds. I had a brother, Craig Nile, that passed away with cancer in 2013, so 2012, sorry. And so that always meant a lot to me, that touched close to home. So we've had our race car on display for that program, and essentially what it is, the Relay for Life, it's basically a 12-hour walk that takes place, starts at 6 o'clock at night and goes through the night. And so I've been a part of that, just displaying the car and walking with the people and just sharing stories with them about racing, about their life and how they battled cancer and everything like that. So been happy to be involved with that for several years now too. So, the community involvement, what you do off the track and how you engage with fans through social media and at the track, doing things for kids, everything like that is just revolved around the people of the Quickie Driver Development Program, between the founder, Tom Roberts, everybody involved, Thumper, a lot of names that we'd recognize from TV and everything, Tony Gibson, former crew chief, Paul Andrews, a lot of big names that, we see in the NASCAR world that seem like we're very close to home, and, we're essentially good friends of mine through this program, and I get to build relationships with. So the program, the best driver development program in the country, by far, if you ask me. They're essentially taking, 7 drivers from across the country and, helping groom them to be the best that they can be, not only providing them with guidance to improve their social media skills and their community engagement skills, but, also providing them a sponsorship of $7,777, and then, taking these 7 drivers and putting them into a competition between how they do on the track, off the track as well. And essentially your champion gets awarded $54,000, and that is absolutely huge for anybody.
Yeah.
For most people, that would pay for a full year or a year and a half of racing, depending on what you do.
Yeah.
With it. So.
Well, I think what's amazing about that story, Dave, is that you didn't win, and yet you've taken all of that stuff from that program that year and really incorporated it into, at a very grassroots short track racing level, incorporated it into what you do as part of your race program, and it's entirely commendable. I think in short track racing, we tend to get so focused on winning, losing, what happens, being so ultra competitive all the time, right? It's an ultra competitive world. We get that. To be able to take a look at a big picture, there's not a lot of guys that would do that, especially after having gone through it and quote unquote not winning at the end. To still be doing that stuff is, that's amazing stuff by you.
Yeah, like I said, it's really turned me into a more humble person. Like you said, you realize the big picture in the end. You're not only there just to compete and to win and stuff. Obviously, there to have fun. We've been able to adapt and sign on board a couple new sponsors this year. And I think part of that is, again, thanks to what I've learned from the Quickie Driver Development Program, to be able to be an all-around representable driver and really have good selling points. And really, the two sponsors we just picked up recently, Surf Filter for Sato, Matt and Lisa True, I can't thank them enough for coming on board this year. Obviously, they're the title sponsor for the post-stock division as well as Wiscasset Speedway. And when I got talking to them, I said, hey, I got a couple trophies that actually have your name on it, or your company's name on it. That's pretty cool. And, long story short there, they decided to come on board. And then the other sponsor that came on board just a couple weeks ago was Randall Advised Realty. Chad Sylvester is the owner there. We actually bought our house through him 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago now. And such a great guy. Anybody in my area, my neck of the woods here in Sebattis, Lewiston, Auburn, Oxford, Brunswick. He's got properties listed all over Androscoggin, Franklin County. Just makes the home buying experience stress-free, enjoyable, really fun guy to work with. And he decided to come on board, and so we really appreciate that. And if we can help his business just sell one more property or buy one more property, then it ends up being, worth it in the end. And, to be able to just talk racing with them, get the logo on the car, bright orange color, they love it, it looks great. Just stuff like that is what we've learned from the program and what we've really been able to become as far as more than just going out on a racetrack and winning or losing. There's more to it than just that.
Yeah. Let me, I'd love to wrap up by asking you, so we've clicked off a couple of wins at Wiscasset this season. If there was, there were one or two races you could win either before this season's over or certainly before your career's over. Not that we're trying to rush you out of the driver's seat, but I don't know, what kind of stands out to you as the one or two things you'd like to do this year or in years future?
Oh, I think that's a no-brainer. It's the Oxford 250.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm shocked.
You got young guys. Yeah, there's no surprise there, right?
Yeah.
You got young guys like Reed Lamp, who's finished second in this race over the last 3 years. That second would be great. I know he doesn't like it. Yeah. I know he wants to win the race. We all want to win the race.
Right.
But you look at guys like Jeff Taylor that's eluded this race for, 30 years or so.
Yeah.
Not to make Jeff feel old. I don't know if Jeff's going to listen to this or hear it, but by all means, this is one race that can basically be the highlight of your career, no matter what.
Yeah.
And, I looked back at last year, and we had the fastest car in practice the day before the race. And I know somebody put out a story that the last 3 drivers that have been the fastest car in practice on Saturday went on to win the race.
Yeah. Yeah, that was me.
I sort of I figured. So I sort of let that story down. I broke that trend.
Yeah.
But, that's just a race that, again, I'm sure it propelled Ricky Craven's career from 1991 when he won the race, and went on to NASCAR and have a successful race career. So it's the short track race of America. They compare it to the Snowball Derby and this and that of what's the best short track race in America. For us, you can't argue. It's the Oxford 250.
Yeah.
You win it. It's the highlight of your career. Like I said, $25,000 to win the race. Well, flat money, it's huge. It'd be huge to a local short track racer like us. And I'd say we've been close before, but, really we haven't. We finished sixth. The last year was an ACT race. And again, I look back, we talked about the practice speeds, which don't say anything.
Right.
But we were the fastest car in practice, the last round of practice there on Sunday, back in 2012. And, we just didn't get the best of draws, as what it always comes down to, luck of the draw. And, we ended up starting 18th. We worked our way up, and then pit strategies sort of fell into place, but we just didn't execute that year. We ended up coming out of the pits about where we started the race in 18th, and we just never were able to recover.
Yeah.
And it seems like year after year, we just get caught up in somebody else's mess. I go all the way back to 2014 when we had a great car, and, Daniel Hemrick took us out in 2014, and now he's running the Xfinity Series.
Right.
A lot of people like him, and I hate him because he took me out. That's who we are. That's definitely the race to win. We got a couple of other races on our schedule this year. The U.S. Pro Stock Nationals at Wiscasset Speedway coming up next month. That's $10,000 to win. That's circled on the calendar for sure. The Boss Hog 150 at Wiscasset on September 2nd.
Yeah.
$5,000 to win.
Yeah.
We know we got a car capable of winning that race too. So
I love the fact that they moved that race. I love the fact they've moved that to like that Labor Day weekend, Sunday afternoon, instead of just on a Saturday night. I just think it's going to make it feel a little extra special.
Yeah, we wanted to race it last year too. We had it circled on our calendar, but we got tied into the Pro All-Star Series, and they had a pass race the same day. We unfortunately made a decision to run the pass race because we had already run a full schedule and weren't going to give up then. So,
right.
Now we have our weekly race at Beach Ridge the night before that we just got to get through, and it's hard to say where we'll be at points from now till then, but certainly things could change on how we go about that race and how aggressive or conservative we want to be that Saturday night, knowing that we got that Boss Hog race on Sunday. So,
right.
We could run a different car. We could, who knows how it's going to play out here in a couple months. But one way or another, I guarantee you we'll be there at the Boss Hog 150 on Labor Day weekend, September 2nd.
Well, perfect. Well, we're looking forward to it. Listen, I want to thank you for taking some time here to chat with us. All great stuff. Best of luck this year, and maybe more importantly, best of luck with all the stuff you're doing outside of the race car.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all the time, Travis. Like I said, those on social media, follow me at Twitter, Dave Farrington Jr. 23, or on Facebook. Find me on there. I love to engage with the fans, interact with everybody. Feel free to contact me. I have quite a few that contact me on a weekly basis, but hey, that's part of the game. I love talking to people about what we're doing and everything. So, without the fans, without you guys, your supporters, we wouldn't be able to do this. So it's not just the races. It's everybody listening, everybody that helps support us. We all appreciate it.
There it is. That's this week's Loose Wheels. Thanks so much to Dave Farrington Jr. for taking some time to join us. Loved having him on. Some great insight. Again, centralmaine.com/sports. I'm your host, Travis Barrett. I'm the auto racing writer at the Kennebec Journal and the Morning Sentinel. You can find me on Twitter at TBarrettGWC. And we will see you next time on Loose Wheels.